The harder you work for money, the poorer you're going to get. That's the tragedy. This is the biggest transformation in the history of the world. It's from industrial age to information age. This is metamorphosis time. This coronavirus is bigger than 9/11 or Pearl Harbor or anything we've ever seen before. And on the biggest picture of all, the coronavirus and the coming crash, financial collapse possibly, marks the end of the industrial age and the beginning of the information age. It's a very big move. And the people that are in trouble today are people still stuck in industrial age thoughts. And let me give you an example. The reason London Real and Brian Rose is doing so well is you guys moved on. I moved on. Rich Dad moved on years ago. The people that are struggling financially haven't moved on yet. So that is my message. It's time to move on. Look, let me give you my health problems here. I've had pneumonia 3 times. I've had malaria. I've had open heart surgery. I've had cancer. Now, that's the bad news. You know what the good news is? I'm aware I had to become healthier. I don't want some vaccine to protect me. It's my responsibility to protect myself. And that's what you do with all your running and things like this. So that's all it is to me. Now, if you're in trouble today, my message is not so kind. This is hard talk, not happy talk. The crisis is in your head. Now, that's the bad news. The good news, you can change the crisis by changing what's inside your head.
Now, you say the crisis is in your head. I mean, Robert, is that because it's about fear and your relationship with fear, and also this old thinking versus new thinking? But what do you mean by the crisis is in their head? Because most people will react very strangely to that statement. They'll say, no, Robert, it's out there, and it's this little virus that's moving around and infecting and killing people. But that's not the way you see it.
Well, the virus is real. The question is, how healthy are you? So I could be a victim right now saying, I have heart disease, diabetes, I'm overweight, I've had pneumonia 3 times, I've had malaria, and all that did was inspire me to be healthier. And so let me give you my definition of health. Health is mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and then physical health. So I spend a lot of money and time on my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, and my physical health. And the average person goes to their doctor once a year for an annual checkup. That's not health, that's called medicine. And mental health is crucial. I mean, what thoughts do you have in your head? If you think this is a bad time, guess what? You're right, it's bad. But if you think this is possibly the best time for you, you can move forward. The real problem of this crisis started back in 1904 when the richest guys on earth took over the education system in the United States. They formed a thing called the General Education Board. It was formed by guys like Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan. And what they pulled out of education was financial education. And so the reason they could rip us off, as you and I know, is via the mechanism of money. And that's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was a warning shot across the bow back in 1997. I said, wake up, something's coming down the road. So we're here right now. This is the biggest transformation in the history of the world. It's from industrial age to information age. I'm making more money than ever before. I have problems, but I'm making more money than ever before. But if you're losing money right now, the problem starts in what you were taught in school. Because they never taught you anything about money. They never taught you about a financial statement, like my rich dad did. They teach you that diploma is everything. It's a piece of toilet paper. BS.
And you buy into that mechanism of money, and you believe that is the only thing to focus on. And what you're saying right now with these stimulus packages is all of this money being given, quote unquote, away by the government to everybody is actually devaluing your dollar, it's devaluing your pension, it's devaluing your savings, and it's wiping out businesses. So you're dying by this sword.
Yeah, and the harder you work for money, the poorer you're going to get. That's the tragedy. So this is how what Fuller talked about, the prison is inside our head, Buckminster Fuller. It starts with misinformation and misorientation. And he says, how dare our schools punish kids for making mistakes? How else do you learn if you don't make a mistake and learn from your mistake? He says, God designed us to learn by making mistakes. For instance, a baby learns to walk by falling down. Baby learns, to ride a bicycle by falling off the bicycle. But our schools punish you for making mistakes. That's misorientation, misinformation.
And that's because our schools were basically built to create workers that will do what you tell them to do because they value this thing called money. And they think that's going to allow them to live a life. And that's obviously completely wrong, because the rich don't work for money. The rich create their own wealth. And when a time like this happens, it becomes blatantly obvious what's going on with the people that are understanding money and the ones that aren't.
You see, the stimulus package is bailing me out. They're bailing out commercial real estate, because that's what the rich really have. So, this tall office buildings and shopping centers and all that, they're all collapsing right now. Now, I'll give you a prediction that Fuller said when this is in 81. All those beautiful office buildings, in downtown and all that, he says that's the best real estate in the world, and they're empty every night. They're empty right now. But he also said back in 81, when I first studied with them, that those office buildings would be homeless shelters. And then a few years ago, 20 years ago, I was in Johannesburg, South Africa. And the best real estate in Johannesburg is now homeless people.
And so how does this play out for the average worker, Robert, for the small business owner? I mean, what does the next 3 months look like? Because it doesn't look pretty. I mean, people are already being laid off, made redundant. There's no cash flow in most of these businesses. How does that play out?
Well, let me give one more stat, just to give you the size of it, okay? The national debt for World War II was $25 billion. Every day today, they're printing $125 billion. Every single day, that's like 5 World War IIs per day. They're printing so much money to keep this think of a hot air balloon with a tear in it. And they're doing desperately trying to fix this tear, but no matter how hard they try, the tear has gone beyond, it's coming down. So in financial terms, it's called our debt to GDP has now gone from 60 to 90 to 105, it's going to 120. We're bankrupt. And they're going to print more and more money, which means savers are losers, just as I predicted. Your money is going to be worthless in a few years. Wow. So my message is the same as some of your other guests. This is metamorphosis time. Financial education, in Rich Dad's terms, is really financial transformation. And definition of metamorphosis is very important. Metamorphosis, the definition is the evolution or the transformation from an immature form to an adult form. An immature form to an adult form. Metamorphosis is the same as a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. And Fuller always said there's nothing to predict a butterfly inside a caterpillar. So everybody listening right now, if you're struggling financially, just think of yourself as a little caterpillar. And this crisis is your cocoon. The question is, what do you emerge as? Do you emerge as a victim? The world did that to me, and the capitalists are crook, and the rich are bastards, and all this stuff? Or do you say, oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to me? The same as my health. I am ground zero for the coronavirus. All that does is inspire me to get healthier. So the overall theme of Brian Rose and London Real and Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad is you're either going to get healthier and wealthier, or you're going to go bust. Your choice. It sits between your ears, your heart, your body, your mind, your spirit, your attitude. This could be the best thing that ever happened to you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually.